All right, guys, we are back with another episode of the Equestrian Adult Amateur, and I am your host, Kelly.
I'm your host, Alexis.
And today we have a really amazing guest on. So today we have Bastian Schroeder, who is the owner of Equijet. We are so excited to have you today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, we have a great line of questions coming for you today.
I'm so excited.
I hope you're ready because this is such a topic. I mean, we'll get into it, but I feel like flying horses around and importing horses from Europe is a conversation that a lot of amateurs, we've had a lot of this conversation recently, talking about, horse sales, where are amateurs getting their horses, how much are they spending on them, just overall, just kind of conversation around that is been happening a lot. So why don't we kick this off and you tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll just kind of start from there.
All right. Well, my name is Bastian. I am this is a good question. I was not prepared for
that. Who are you?
Who are you?
Who am I? That is a loaded question. So, my name is Bastian. I am the owner of Equijet. I founded this company in 2017.
Nice.
And have shipped lots of horses since then, and hopefully made a lot of people happy bringing their horses in. Have a great team behind me that helps me do the things we do on a daily basis. And yeah, that's probably everything in a nutshell that we do. And I love horses and
how did you get into this? Are you a pilot? Are you a lover of planes? We know you're a lover of horses, but where does the love for the planes come in?
I like logistics. I like puzzles, and I like to put the pieces together and how to fix problems. Not problems, but find a solution for things. And I was working with someone and people to bring horses in, and started a different company many years ago, and then ventured out on my own in 2017, and that's how Equijet started.
That's so cool.
Nice. Okay, so tell us about your riding career and your horse background. How did that? Did you ride as a young person? How did that develop?
I grew up in Germany and then came to the States in 2006 after I graduated college. And I rode in Germany competitively, show jumpers, because we don't have hunters. Then came here, met my wife, got to show a little bit of the hunters, which is wildly different. And I do have a lot of respect for people that do the hunters, because it's an art.
It is.
It is an art. And now I get to ride a little bit every day, a horse here and there as time allows, and go to horse shows and help Margot with her horses.
That's amazing.
And that's what.
So you're based down in Wellington, right?
We're based in Wellington for the winters and in New Jersey in the summers. And
nice.
Then you probably find us at different shows around the East Coast.
Very nice. So, okay. So you did show jumping, and now you did a little bit of the hunters, which is, I commend you for doing that. I think that's so much fun. And I feel like, I've heard this conversation talk a lot, like circulating around social media, talking about the hunters in Europe. And I feel like there's like a really big push to try to get hunters over in Europe. Do you think that's going to ever happen? Do you think that that's a possibility?
I don't know. I don't think so. There's such a specialized market here for that.
Yeah.
I think it's nice for the Europeans to have an understanding of what we need here for the hunters. I don't think we have the trainer base in Europe, in the horse shows, the classes that support it there.
Yeah.
The judging. I mean, the judging is so different, and you've got to have the judge that knows how to score a hunter round versus how to manage a timer and faults and all that stuff is vastly different.
Vastly different. For sure. So, okay, so let's dive into, for someone that's never thought about it, what is like what is putting your horse on a plane, like a horse flight? Like, what does that process look like? And I guess that's probably a really in-depth question, but how does that even work? Like, how does one even begin to comprehend that?
So let's say you purchase your horse. I mean, it's in a nutshell, not vastly different than essentially shipping your horse. You need your blood test. You need when you import from Europe to the U.S. You need your standard blood test to import: pyroplasmosis, dorine, glanders, Coggins. You need a health certificate, and then you book your air freight, your plane ride, and quarantine for all horses that come in. They do their minimum of a 42-hour quarantine period. Geldings then they're free to go. Mares and geldings then have to do their CEM quarantine, and after that, then they get released, and then they're free to go. So those are all the basic steps, and then every country or other parts of the world, are they CEM free? Are they not CEM free? Then they have their special requirements.
I see.
And then again, if you go the other way around, if you go to Europe, what part of the world do we go? Then every country has their own requirements, and then that's where it gets interesting.
And do you manage the quarantine as well? Does Equijet manage just the flight, or are they managing all of it?
We manage the whole part, door to door.
Wow.
And that's usually where we excel. He can be part and integrated in the entire process from pickup to delivery.
Wow, that's amazing.
Customer can choose how many pieces they want to do themselves. But typically, if we can be in charge of the entire process, that's when it goes the smoothest.
That's very interesting. Now, so do you have, I would imagine, just say for Delta, Atlanta is a hub. Do you have hub airports that, you prefer to fly into, and then, the horses ship out from there? Or how does that process work?
That's a really good question. So we have 4 airports in the U.S. that we are allowed to import. That is New York, Miami, Chicago, and Los Angeles. They all have import centers. We only have one import center currently that's operated by the USDA. Every other port, they're all privately owned. You can export pretty much from any airport in the U.S. as long as there's USDA that will supervise the flight and supervise your loadout. But importing, we only have 4 ports.
Okay, so
and
say
every
that.
port has their specialty. Like Miami is South and Central America imports, and Europe. New York is your European destinations. Los Angeles is Europe. Mexico, South America. Not that much.
Wow, that's so interesting. I never would have thought that.
Yeah. So if I was sending my horse from Atlanta to Europe, he could fly out of anywhere.
Yeah, we could go from Atlanta to Europe, no problem.
So your plane would just meet him in Atlanta?
Yes. And if you, at that point, a matter of how many horses do we have that want to go. So then it's again a hub, a matter of, we have hubs like New York, Miami, probably see more traffic in that case.
Yes.
But if there's other horses that want to go, we could certainly fly out of Atlanta, no problem.
Yeah. So I guess it would be it would probably be more cost. I don't know, depending on cost. I mean, if there's more horses going, I would imagine it would be more cost effective than if if you wanted to ship to New York to then go to Europe rather than having, your one solo horse just flying from Atlanta to Europe. That would probably be more economical, right?
Yeah. So you got to think about the setup for each stall. You can have up to 3 horses per jet stall. And if you have 3 next to each other, it's like economy class. And if you do 2, it's business class. If you just have one horse by itself, it's first class.
That's interesting.
Find those tickets.
That's really interesting. So let's talk about who you are. I mean, I guess it's probably a wide variety of clientele that you're dealing with, whether it's professionals, trainers, the clients that are purchasing the horses. do you think that, because obviously our podcast is based around adult amateurs, are you seeing more adult amateurs, you know, importing? Are you seeing it go up, go down, kind of stay the same? Like what are you guys seeing on that side?
We have a pretty good mix. We have trainers that import for resale. We have trainers that import for their customers, for the adult amateurs, and we do have some of the amateurs that have their own connections in Europe and do their own importing. It's a broad mix.
That's really interesting. Because I feel like, we've been having this conversation on social media recently about just who the amateur horse is in general. And I think obviously if you're showing on the circuit, I think that conversation is we've talked a lot about importing from Europe and what that looks like in the cost. And um so, we talked about how astronomical horse prices have gotten. And that's including the cost of importing them over here and whatnot. So, do you feel let's talk about cost in terms of like how much does it cost? Because I feel like that is a big conversation that circulates of it's kind of like this big question mark of cost of how much does it cost to bring import horses over here. And I'm sure it varies and there's, scenarios and different things that can change the price. So, how do you kind of just approach that conversation and educate the audience on that?
So your ballpark number usually is give or take, and it just depends on where the horses are coming from. The majority of the horses, they come out of Central Europe,
Mm-hmm.
Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, a little bit Eastern Europe, Czech Republic, Poland, Scandinavia, and then it's just your trucking part. That's a big piece that drives your cost a little bit. So New York is usually on average somewhere around 11-ish thousand, and that includes blood work, shipping to the airport, health papers until they're released, and then mares and stallions. You add your CM quarantine on top of that, and that would be like for a single stall economy seat for a horse. And I think that's the majority that we see about customers book with us. And if you have a customer that wants, a stall and a half, business class seat for the horse, that adds, give or take, 2,000 to 3,000 euros for that spot.
Okay, so everything's in euros.
In euros, the price, that's $11,000, and then the air freight gets charged us in euros. We convert it on the day of the exchange rate. But in general, we see about $11,000-ish for the air freight picked up to release from quarantine from the USDA until they go on either home or go on to their next quarantine phase, which would be then for mares or stallions.
That's really interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. And then Miami, New York, Los Angeles, they're more expensive because the air freight is just costs more.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we've been recently talking about this because I just got a mare. She's 2 years old. She was imported. I guess, last year in August, so like a year ago, and I just got her in February. And we were talking about possibly, we just love her so much. We were talking about the possibility of bringing over her mom, and so why is it that mares they have a higher cost? Is it because they have to quarantine longer? Like, what are the risks there that involve, is it government regulated? Like I guess, why is it that way and who is making it that way?
So mares have to do a 2-week quarantine because they have to get tested for contagious equine metabolitis. And that they have to get 2 swabs taken, and they take 7-day cultures of those. And that's why that takes 14. So that takes longer. Same for stallions, but they have to live cover 2 mares that then have to get tested again for CE.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's a 30-day quarantine, 30-day plus quarantine.
And who manages their care when they're in quarantine? Do y'all set all of that up? Like, you have people that feed them?
Set that up. Yeah, we have a list of CM quarantines for the clients to choose from. And a lot of the times, most customers already did a little bit of research where they want to send their horses,
Hmm.
and either have a preference on that, and if they don't, we have a list of most quarantines that people use, of commercial quarantines, and give them to the customers. They then choose from them, and whoever they feel most comfortable with, and who do good service. And we have a limited list. There's not a lot of facilities out there that actually do it. In the Northeast, for CM quarantine for mares, if you come to New York and New Jersey, you have essentially two facilities that do it a lot, and that actually let you visit the horses.
Oh, cool.
Rigby Farm and Parkview Farm here in New Jersey. There's one more facility in South Jersey, Walnut Ridge, but they don't let you visit your horse while you're there. You can ride it, and that's important for a lot of our customers.
Interesting.
Stallion quarantine in the Northeast, you really can only do at Rigby Farm in Maryland. Otherwise, you have to go to Kentucky. So,
wow, that's
taste to that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Um,
Do you find that most horses tolerate the flight well if they've never flown before?
Yes.
And do you have to, and I don't know the rules, and if this is a dumb question, do they have to be drugged to get on the plane, or is it just like a trailer ride? They're used to trailering. You maybe put earplugs in or whatever, but they just adapt.
They adapt. They do quite well with most of it. With most of that travel, they just go on the plane and they load if they're good shippers, they walk right on the pallet and they don't have any issues.
Wow.
And what we also find is if you got, maybe someone told us in Europe, hey, this horse has not been the best shipper and the best loader, that a lot of them, by the time they come off the flight, they seem to be a lot better shippers by the time they get here.
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense. They've kind of experienced it and realized, I can't get off for a certain number of hours, so
Yeah.
I better get used to this.
Because I feel
we really haven't done earplugs on a lot of them because honestly, a lot of the sources just don't know them. We've been approached by companies to maybe introduce earplugs and see if we should maybe do work together and do it as an after-sale service, but it just, a lot of the sources don't know them.
That's crazy.
that's so interesting because every time I see, whether it's social media or any kind of media in general, when I see horses coming on and off of planes, like they seem they seem chill. And I mean, of course, I don't know if anyone's going to show a horse like losing its mind, but I think, I mean, if you're a horse person, you can kind of, read them and gauge, all these horses on these planes, like coming off of it, they don't seem stressed and I find that so fascinating. But I think too, when you have professionals that do this, like you guys, day in and day out and give them, these animals confidence of, like this is no big deal. If you guys make it no big deal, then it's no big deal. So, I think that's,
yeah.
I think that,
most of the time it is not very stressful, but once you see them offloading, and they're ready to get off the stall, like
yeah,
you have three horses next to each other, and by the time two of their buddies left, like you better work quick to get the last horse off. They're herd animals.
yeah, right.
They're ready to go on and be in their quarantine stall.
For sure. And now what I think is really interesting too is I've these the FEI riders, the riders that are flying, maybe they're based in the US and then they fly to compete over the summer over to Europe. It's those horses travel a lot. Is there anything that you see or recommend, or this wasn't on our list of questions, I'm just genuinely curious of, conditioning those horses to kind of just like people, traveling is hard on people. Is there anything that you recommend to your clients that's like, hey, like this is what we recommend to kind of, keep your horses in top condition when they're in travel? Like, is it, is it some supplementation? Is it some, I don't know. I just was curious.
I mean, GastroGuard is one of the things we do a lot with, and customers request that. We do a lot of GastroGuard. Gallagher water is one of the supplements on the export horses in the summer. We do a lot, and we are not sponsored by Gallagher water. We just found that to be a supplement that really makes them drink and keeps them hydrated well. Any of those supplements, that as long as the horses are hydrated and drink well, I think they travel well.
Yeah. And I think
So
that's as an adult amateur, I think importing has always kind of been almost a little bit of a not scary, but kind of unapproachable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's becoming more and more normalized in, even in, different levels of the sport. And so, I think, talking about the cost and talking about, the quarantine times and all of those things make this seem much more, doable. And I feel like, again, also I wanted to ask you about, I saw on your website that each horse flies with a groom.
yes, so we have on average one groom for every 6 horses.
That's so nice.
Technically, we can have one groom up for up to 9 horses, but typically we try to have one groom for every 6, which we feel like is a good number.
Yeah.
Just always dependent a little bit on the amount of seats we get on the plane. And that ensures that they're well taken care of.
And how many horses can you fly on one flight?
That's a little bit determined on what quarantine accepts. In New York, they kind of dictate a little bit how many we can bring in per flight. Usually anywhere between 21 to 30 on average. Miami is a little bit more lenient. Miami, we had flights combined by all the agents together in peak season of about 70, but then they kind of asked us to condense that a little bit and try to spread that over a few more flights because it just took too long to get the horses out of the pallets.
Yeah.
Wow.
That makes
Holy
sense.
crap, that's a ton of
That
horses.
is a ton. So max 70 but you're going down to 30.
Well, you can if you do a full charter on a 747, you could, I think, get up to 98 horses on there.
On one plane?
On one plane.
What?
Wow. That's
How?
honestly shatters my brain. I can't even think about that.
I thought you were going to say like 6.
I thought you were going to say like 10. That was my guess. Oh my gosh. Well, that's
so
crazy.
These planes are just massive and they're horse only. I guess where do the people sit? The grooms sit
up top. So it's a double decker, right? Like if you look at the 747, you have the second story, you go up upstairs, and then that's where the people sit.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
But on average, the average number is somewhere between 20 to 30 that we see come in.
Yeah. Right.
And it's seasonal dependent. Miami in the summer, the numbers are slower and lower than New York. In the winter, it's lower, but in the summer, they're higher. So, but average is probably a good number, is somewhere between 20 to 30 per flight.
Wow.
So when we went down to Wellington over the winter and we saw all y'all's, we flew past, I think, that private airport that's right by Wellington. Now are people flying their horses into there, or is that not allowed, or how is that regulated?
So I think that might be a little bit too small. But if you look at Ocala, for instance, the Ocala airport is big enough to fly horses in and out.
Oh.
So when Texan still used to have their charters or their Kalita planes, you would land it right across from OBS. The trucks would bring the horses right across the street after the sale, and they would walk right onto the plane, and that would take right up from there.
Wow.
So the Ocala airport is actually long enough of a runway to have a big enough plane to take off.
Wow, that's crazy. That's very interesting.
And do you fly horses all over the country, not necessarily internationally every time, but you'll fly them from, let's say, Georgia to California or East Coast to West Coast and vice versa?
We do domestic flights, and they're currently all on FedEx.
Oh, whoa.
On FedEx?
Yes.
That's so cool. You just manage all the logistics.
Yeah, so every agent we all book on FedEx, and a lot of the time we either consolidate, or if we have enough horses to put the pallets for us together, we book them on FedEx, and it's sort of a hub and spoke system. Certain destinations we have direct flights, but a lot of the flights go either from wherever you depart from. Let's say you want to go from Florida to Los Angeles. Most of the time we stop in Memphis, like layover, on average 3 to 4 hours, and then go on to California.
Wow, that's really interesting.
But, we still can usually, on an average, still manage it within give or take 12 hours door to door, which is a lot faster.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Oh.
roughly the same rate as trucking.
Really? Well, yeah, you'd want it to be faster for the horse, and
Well, yeah, and
same financially.
That's just almost as cost effective as trucking, which is a really nice thing.
Yeah. So how much is it? How much does it cost to get from like Atlanta to LA?
Give or take $4,800.
Wow, that's actually really not as bad as I thought. I
No,
was
not
gonna
at
say at
all.
least like 10.
No, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, if
And
it's
again,
11 in Europe.
you see 3 horses to a pallet, so that is
Right.
your cost-effective option.
Right. That's very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so moving on to stories. Do you have any like funny stories that have happened over the years that, maybe the viewers would find funny or interesting?
Trying to think.
I just think
I asked the girls earlier that hadn't gotten back to me. I'm sure once they're done, I'm gonna remember.
Yeah. Well,
you obviously remember the things you shouldn't talk about. So
yeah, right.
I know.
Of course, and especially as like a business owner, you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to, I just wonder like if there's any, maybe there's a horse that like loves to get on the plane and just like falls asleep every time and just like loves the humming, it's almost like kind of like
The
a
white
zen,
noise.
yeah, like a zen space, which for flying for me is I can kind of see that, you get like
No,
well, not for you.
I hate it.
Alexis has a flying aversion.
Yeah.
She hates flying, but yeah, but it's I could see, you put your headphones on, get your blanket, and you're just kind of hanging out and vibing. So
How do you employ your pilots? Like, where do you find them?
Well, we are just freight forwarders. We are booking space on the aircraft. So we're
Okay.
just the airline assigns the pilots. There's for New York, we really all kind of consolidate on one certain airline that has the majority of the airspace or the space for us into New York for the horses. And the same for Miami, Chicago, and Los Angeles.
They each have their own kind of company.
So this is because I just truly don't know anything about planes. When you were saying about the 737 before, and you were saying like the top and the bottom, like, so is the bottom, the cargo area is where the horses are, correct? So, and then is the top like a normal, just like a normal plane, or are these planes like specially made and designed for this purpose?
No, they're all cargo planes. So you're on flight. You're on a flight. There might be other stuff on there. There's maybe cars on there, or there are machine parts, and then there are 3 containers of horses.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just pure
if you're
cargo.
nervous, you don't want to look at a cargo plane, because it takes you see all the nitty gritty of what a plane looks like without the fancy plastic parts and seats.
Yeah. You would hate that.
Too.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking like, just so nobody thinks like on their next like Delta flight, there's not like horses underneath them.
No.
Like
KLM used to have what's called a combi plane. They had these 747s, and the back third was all cargo.
Hmm.
So you would have 250 passengers in the front, and then you have a galley, and then you have a door, and the flight attendants would open the door, and whoever was sitting in the back, they could either smell the denji or would hear the horses nicker.
No, cool.
That's crazy.
I love
People
that.
had no idea that would be horses.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
That's really neat. Well, do you guys have any like fun up and coming things that you guys are going to be working on? I know we're moving into, we're still in summer, but I'm already
Close
thinking
to
about
fall.
closer to fall, closer to, Wellington circuit. Are people like booking and prepping for that already? Or is like when do people start planning for that?
They're slowly getting ready. Right now, we're just working on getting some of our team horses back from the World Equestrian Games that are finishing in Germany. And then slowly, usually by the time October rolls around, people are sort of thinking about Florida and when they're coming.
Yeah.
And October, November is really when it gets busy.
Yeah. So is that like your busiest time, like over the winter?
Yeah, October, November, December, then it's really busy. And then it kind of levels back out once January, February rolls around.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of, thankfully, just kind of steady throughout the year.
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Good.
I wouldn't imagine it being like a seasonal thing. I mean, I would definitely think that when people, because nowadays, the world is so small, so to speak, you can kind of get anywhere. So people are going to be going from, place to place. So that makes total sense. But
Did you bring any personal horses with you when you moved from Germany? How was that?
At that point, I did not.
Okay.
I'm now finally in the position that, Morgan and I now bring our own horses in and
In and
develop slowly.
yeah.
Was it hard to get used to when you came here from the horses in Germany to what was American bred?
It took a while to get used to it, but I did an exchange for them first, then went back and got my degree in Germany and then came back. So I kind of got an idea of what I was getting myself into. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny, it's a question Marva and I always have, like, would I ever go back? And I think I would probably have a harder time not going back.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because I've been here, for a while, and I love going back home. I love going back home to see my family, but it's like you're in Germany, and then you're kind of like, well, you're ready to go back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get that. Well, we appreciate you
home-
coming. Oh, what'd you say?
Yeah, it's that home is here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it's always like, I think home is such a feeling. So it's such a vibe, it's like a gut feeling. And I feel like if, you've built this amazing business here. And so
Your family is half your family is here too.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Well, and honestly, one thing I have to say is our horse community also, it's such a they're such a global community, but they're also such a small community, and it is such a. I think everybody kind of everybody, and it's such a nice and supporting community.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Everybody kind of sticks together and helps, and that makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree. And I think, like I said, we just went to Wellington over the winter and it was our first time and everybody was so nice and the space is so nice and and I'm actually a Northeastern girl. I'm from Philly, so New Jersey is kind of my old stomping grounds. So I love it up there too. Two very different places. Do you prefer one or the other?
No,
You like them both?
I like both.
Yeah.
I like Florida. Florida's nice for the winter. You get out of the cold, but I do like to come back home.
Yeah. The Northeast in the summer is truly just such a great experience. It's just so different. Like I said, we're in Atlanta, it's just north of Atlanta. So it's sweltering hot and humid and so going up north is very nice to do for the summertime.
Yeah. there's nothing better than Jersey corn and tomatoes that's just around the corner.
There
So
you go. Exactly. Exactly. Well, we appreciate you so much coming on with us today. I mean, I know I learned so much.
I know. We're ready to buy and call you up and have you
I
fly him
know.
over.
We're calling you next time because we've
don't
been
forget about the tariff.
I know. The tariffs.
Oh, wait. Yes. Can you talk a little bit about that for potential buyers out there that are listening?
You still have a 10% tariff on the purchase price on your horse.
Wow.
That goes on
Dang.
top of your cost.
Wow.
Okay, this is going to sound really stupid. That's new.
That has been in place since April of 2025. Then
Okay.
the Supreme Court struck down the first round of tariffs, which we're in the process of refunding.
Mm-hmm.
But then he just implemented now a new round of tariffs based on Section 301, and that is allegedly now permanent and a law.
On animals. I know it's any import, but that's crazy. So that's going to make a big difference. Have you seen a big difference in busyness for you guys since the tariffs have been implemented?
I think the industry adjusted to it, and we thankfully have not seen much of a slowdown
Yeah.
on it.
This is just my personal opinion. I kind of feel like if I'm going to commit and spend the money to buy something in Europe and import it, I mean, 10%, while yes,
It's not nothing.
it's not nothing, but it's, if it was like 25%, I would maybe, or even 30%,
Yeah.
because I think once you have your mind, I mean, I can only speak for me. And if I am an amateur and I'm like committing to doing it, me and my trainer are going to do this, like, it sucks, but it just kind of is what it is, just nothing you can do about it.
I think, people price it in, and you kind of
Yeah.
anticipate that in when you go shopping now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in Europe they've kind of understand that there's now this tariff. So I'm sure, like he said, the market adjusts on kind of
Yeah.
the situation. So a horse that was 10,000 per se is going to be a little bit less, knowing that they're going to have to pay a tariff, or they're going to work with you a little bit more, probably.
Yeah. Understandable. All right. Well, Bastian, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on today. I really appreciate it. We had the best time. We're calling you next time we find a warm blood that we love in Europe.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Have a good
Enjoy your
day.
day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.